Ink up, slow down, write your rhythm with script and scribe. Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Kat, and some of you will be seeing my face for the very first time. Others who are on the Discord server might already know my booktube channel, so this is not a surprise seeing me. I never intended Script and Scribe to be a faceless channel. It just sort of works best that way, and most likely you're not going to see my face for a while again, because I just want to focus on the stationery, the inks, the pens, all of that sort of stuff. But if there's ever an occasion where I think, oh, you know what, it's going to make sense to actually show my face, then I'll do that. And today there is an occasion. I just want to say a big thank you. I've reached over 1,000 subscribers and I am extremely grateful to you. So I thought I'd come on and thank you sort of in person. And yeah, tell you how much I appreciate it. So today we are looking at 9 of my favorite inks from J Herbin, with the caveat that I haven't yet tried any of the inks from their 1798 anniversary collection. Established way back in 1670, J Herbin is considered the world's oldest fountain pen ink manufacturer, and starting off with the founder Jacques being a French sailor exploring, traveling to India and bringing back vibrant pigments and sealing wax formulas before becoming a supplier to King Louis XIV. So by 1798, his fourth generation descendant shifted the family's focus more firmly towards inks while continuing the trade in wax, paper and pigments. Over the centuries, these formulations have evolved into inks that are known for their color variation, shading, and character. And the business remained firmly in the Herbin family all the way through history until eventually joining the Clairefontaine Rodeo Group in 2021. They still produce some of the best, well-known, well-respected everyday inks in the fountain pen world, and their range is vast. Like I say, I haven't tried all of them, but these are certainly the favorites of the ones that I have tried. Now, if you think I should try something from the 1798 anniversary range, do let me know. All I know is that they create a sort of contrast to the 1670 range because we've got the silver shimmer and more understated colors compared to the dramatic 1670 range. So if one of your favorites comes from the 1798 collection, do let me know in the comments, or let me know any colors that you're really into and you think are worth me trying out, because I'm always willing to be enabled to try new inks and new pens and new paper. So yeah, let me know. And let's get into swatching. I'll be using this unruled A5 Midori MD notebook, 1 page per day, which I've decorated and put a clear cover on. I really love the light cream paper and think it offers an interesting contrast to the whiter tone paper in this Muji high quality notebook. Today, I am also giving my Wearingeul Swatch Book an early retirement. I've decided that while I love the Wearingeul inks, I'm not a fan of their paper, so I might as well make use of the papers I do value for their ink swatching abilities. Even the inks that look really aesthetically pleasing in here performed better on other papers. So now that I know that, I think the only thing I'll miss about the swatch book are these pre-printed ink bottle outlines. But it's simple enough to draw my own ink bottle or a simple standard shape, like a circle, using a pigment pen. And you can use any brand. So far, I think you've seen me use Molotov and Pilot, and I think I'm going to go for one of these UniPINs today. All that matters is that you've got pigmented ink in there. So you've got something that's waterproof and the ink isn't going to cause the black pen outline to actually smudge. So yeah, any brand will do. Of course, you can also use an archival ink stamp pad together with a silicone or rubber stamp, but I just kind of feel like going simple with a stencil, go for a circle, and use a pen. And first we're going to put the headings in. Usually I use a Pilot parallel pen. Today it's a Jinhao 82 with this Bent Nib or Fude nib. And then I have a mind blip that leads to a misspelling, not once, but twice. So I do it in here, see if you can spot it, and then again in here. And all it is the last word, because that's just meant to be TO instead of TOO. 9 Herbin inks I return to. And then I just get all the circles done. I'll be using these inexpensive glass dip pens to do the writing, and this glass cocktail stirrer or set of cocktail stirrers that I bought for £2 from Shein to do the ink swatching. First up is Poussiere de Lune, which is going down in the Midori first, and then we'll do the Muji. It translates to moon dust and balances usability and character. This is very much in keeping with my usual color palette. I tend to lean towards colors that are desaturated and cool leaning. You can see here as I lay this down that it's a dusty plum purple, slightly warmer on the Midori paper that is cream toned, and it will then look a little bit cooler on the Muji. It's understated but impactful, and like we say, depending on lighting, paper tone, and nib size, it shifts between plum and a cooler grade violet. At its darkest, I feel like we're looking at something between aubergine and faded twilight violet. This is a very usable everyday ink. Flow is smooth and moderately wet without feeling heavy, and it behaves well across most papers. Shading is present but controlled. It adds variation without affecting readability, and the matte finish keeps it quite restrained. There's no sheen, there's no shimmer. It dries fairly fast, especially on absorbent paper, slightly slower on coated fountain pen paper like Tomoe River. Overall, it's a strong choice if you want something more expressive than your usual black or blue black, but still want something practical enough for daily writing. Now, editing me came in and took out where I did a double swatch of this because I was just loving the color so much. So yeah, I cut that out and we're going straight into Vert Empire, or I usually end up saying Empire Green. For me, Empire Green sits in a muted space between olive green, grey green, and faded ledger ink. And it's very much an ink defined by restraint. The color is anchored by a strong grey base with a subdued green. It shifts depending on conditions, olive in a certain light, mossy green in wetter writing, and a green-grey in balanced strokes. Almost graphite with a green tint if you go for a very fine dry nib. So shading is its strongest feature. It produces a wide tonal range from a mid-sage through to deep olive grey, and in broader nibs, this gives a really textured atmospheric feel. It's got lovely shading. Flow is smooth, moderately wet, and on low quality paper you may see some feathering, but actually it doesn't take that long to dry, so dry times are fairly typical. I like it in broader nibs, and I feel cream or ivory paper like the Midori give it an old worldy vibe. Think old maps, faded ledgers, aged documents, just has an older feel to it. Lit de thé or tea dregs has proved to be quite a stumbling block for me. I thought that I had recorded the swatching, and then I totally missed showing you me smushing the ink down and getting all of the quality going from the lightest to the darkest brown, but I can only apologize because I totally messed up and did not record that. It is still drying and we can talk about it. This is a very well-known ink from Herbin, and it is a warm brown, definitely a warmer brown than I usually go for. I usually go for sort of taupe, grey leaning browns, but this is warm and earthy. The base is a golden brown, ranging from light sepia to caramel to a richer chocolate. And like the other two, shading is a main feature here. Even in normal writing, it doesn't look flat. And in broader nibs, it develops the strong contrast between light and darker areas without harming legibility. Flow is moderate and well controlled. It can feel a little restrained in very dry, fine nibs. And I think that it looks really good in medium broad stub or flex nibs where the full range of shading appears. It has a lot of warmth on both papers, though of course more on the Midori where it has a softer quality to it. It's really practical for everyday writing. Looking at these three together, none of them are particularly loud. They're understated and yet impactful. I love the shading quality of all three of these and that subtle shift in tone from the dark to the light. And you do see a shift across the quality in terms of what paper you're using, and that will also be the case for what sort of nib you're using and the pressure. So I do enjoy the quality of them. We've got the warmest one being the tea dregs, which is earthy brown, and they're all strong and legible. The one that I would say is more neutral is the Green Empire or Empire Green. It is slightly restrained. I would go neutral towards cool, and then definitely on the cooler spectrum, we've got the moon dust, that subdued violet, which looks a little bit warmer when you lay down less of it and when you use a cream or ivory paper like this Midori. But when you use this whiter, brighter color, you can see that it looks much cooler. And the same goes for all others. They definitely take on a more cool quality, and you see that neutral in the Empire Green. The only one that stays really warm is the tea dregs. For the next one is a little bit torn, so I would usually go for the one on the right for a darker red, and it's got shimmer in it. But I find that this particular ink takes longer to dry than I like, so I decided to put aside this particular one to go for the rouge caroubier, and it comes in this 10 ml bottle. It's one of the 350th anniversary collection. There's 5 of them. They have this waxy cover to the top, which I'm not a huge fan of. But I get that it's a nod to the origins of the brand. Carob Red is a bright and playful color with a lighter and more translucent character than the other 3 that we just looked at, and definitely more than traditional deep reds that I go for. I usually lean toward those darker crimson or burgundy inks, and this is more a cherry red. The color is vivid but soft-edged. It can have a uniform quality in finer nibs, but in wetter, broader nibs, it will show shading. So flow is smooth and consistent, and it has a moderate dry time, one that's definitely quicker than the Rouge Hematite or Hematite Red that I reluctantly put to the side earlier. Vert Reseda or Reseda Green sits in a soft mint aqua range with a light, fresh character that feels slightly unconventional compared to more traditional greens. It leans toward a pastel mint green with a hint of turquoise. I find it really difficult to describe. It is bright without becoming neon and soft without appearing washed out. With a lot of ink laid down, it deepens towards teal. Flow is smooth and consistent, and though it feels quite wet as I lay it down, I know the dry time is fairly quick. So it has lovely shading that's most visible in broader nibs where light and dark strokes contrast. I never use it in an extra fine nib as the very fine line that it produces isn't teal. It is probably due to lower saturation because what happens is it comes out towards the lightest end of what we're seeing in the swatch, and that makes it trickier to read. Not bad, but just enough to make me not want to use it in an extra fine nib. So I mostly use it in a stub nib. From the same 350th anniversary set that I got, we have Violette Pansy or Violet Pansy, a blue-leaning violet that feels classic. In swatches, it moves between lavender and violet, with enough blue influence to keep it calm and highly readable. It is a really generous flowing, smooth ink, and it performs well in a wide range of nib sizes. So not just broader nibs or stubs, it actually works to use in extra fine nibs. It's still highly readable, but of course I do still prefer it in the broader nibs if I want to show off some moderate shading. Overall, this is a reliable everyday purple and would work well for journaling, correspondence, and general note-taking. So these last three from the 350th anniversary collection are really a pop of color that I would use in between my regular journaling. I might use the purple to do a whole page of journaling, but less so the red and the aquamint, which I'd use for headlines and for annotation. Next up, Carob de Chypre, or Cypress Carob, which combines a warm brown base with gold shimmer and an unexpected green sheen. You can see the shimmer at the bottom of the bottle, and I'm just giving that a swirl to loosen things up. The gold shimmer adds a really bronze glow to a base that is this rich cocoa brown ranging from milk chocolate to darker tree bark tones. And I really enjoy that bronze glow that doesn't dominate the writing as you use it. I'm hoping that in heavier pooling as well, we'll see some green sheen emerging that gives the ink even more personality. I know that on absorbent paper, a lot of the sheen disappears, leaving a more conventional brown with shimmer. On some coated fountain pen friendly papers, the full complexity really becomes visible. The flow is smooth and well controlled for a shimmer ink. As you can imagine, to show off the full potential, I tend to use a broad or a stub nib. I think this ink balances practicality and visual interest really well. Next up, Emeraude de Chivor. It is one of the most well-known Herbin inks. It is often described as a 3-layer ink because of its interaction between base color, shimmer, and sheen. So the base is a saturated emerald teal, sitting between deep green and blue-green. Over this, a fine gold shimmer catches the light without overwhelming the writing. And in heavier pooling, a ruby red sheen can appear around the edges, creating a strong contrast between warm and cooler tones. So I realized that I hadn't done the writing with the Carob of Cyprus, or Cypriot Carob. So we're doing that now. And I think it's because I've got quite a bit on my mind. I'm in the middle of an intensive course. So I've got Zoom classes and coursework. And now we can go back to the Chivor Emerald. It is a very highly lubricated wet ink and it dries slowly. So I'm always careful not to close my notebook before I check that all the writing has dried, as it can smudge easily if handled too soon. On coated fountain pen papers like Tomoe River or Clairefontaine, all the 3 elements, teal base, gold shimmer, and red sheen are visible. On very absorbent paper, it can flatten into a more conventional teal. Last but not least, Gris Orage, or Stormy Grey, which pairs a dark charcoal grey base with beautiful gold shimmer. The base is a deep anthracite grey, highly legible, neutral, and understated. Against this, the gold shimmer really pops, but it doesn't take over the base color. It allows you to think of stormy clouds and light breaking through. So the appeal really comes from that contrast between dark base color and the metallic particles suspended within it. Flow is smooth and moderately wet, making it comfortable to write with while carrying the shimmer effectively. Dry times are reasonable for a shimmer ink, and once dry, the dark base ensures the writing remains easy to read. It's practical, but still fun. That's it, all 9, and we will wait for them to dry so you can see what they look like when they've actually managed to settle. And this is how they're looking with about 6 of them dry. The last 3 obviously still wet. And I think they're really impactful. Shifting across to the left, so you see the standard inks. We've got the Moon Dust, the Empire Green, and the Tea Dregs. And they are wonderfully muted, atmospheric colors. Obviously, Tea Dregs a bit warmer than the other 2, but they definitely have that deep, dark, atmospheric tone to them. Then you go on to the next 3 and it really pops. So the 350th collection, you get those bright, bright colors. And finally, we get the shimmer inks in the last 3. and hopefully we'll also see some sheen on the Midori as well as the Muji. Okay, they're all dry now, and we can see the wonderful shading in the first three. So really impactful between lighter tones and darker tones, and this shows why I enjoy them in stub nibs. And the bright 350th collection colors also have shading, but they have a less multi-tonal shading. I find that it goes light and dark, and you don't have much of the mid-tones in between in comparison to the first three darker colors. Now with the 1670 range, you're seeing the gold that's developed in the Cyprus Carob or Cypriot Carob, and definitely seeing the sheen that's developed in the emerald. So that is what I was hoping would happen, and I'm so glad that we've got it on both papers. So I am really happy with the paper I've picked. I am really glad I've retired that Wearingeul Swatch Book, because I feel that both Muji and Midori have not let me down. Look at this. This is, looking super. There is a hint of green in the Cypriot Carob on the Midori, but I don't feel like it's really showing on camera the way it is in person. And although the dip pen writes a fine line, you do see the effects in the writing as well. Definitely the shimmer there. And finally, we've got the grey, which looks spectacular with the contrast of that gold. I hope you've enjoyed this exploration of Herbin inks. Let me know which of the brand you enjoy the most, and if there's another ink brand you'd like me to feature in a future top 9 inks, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and for sharing my enthusiasm for stationery. Until next time, take care and happy writing.